Okay, this is our lathe. The lathe is used for taking square stock and making it round, making designs. So any table legs, any vases, in this case it's a pen. We can take stock and round it and shape it into a number of different items. The headstock is what drives the piece. Tailstock supports it and makes sure that it stays on the headstock and centered. So the first rule is that when you're setting up the lathe for spindle turning, that means between two centers, then you have to firmly clamp the tailstock in place, because the tailstock can move, adjusting to different sizes. So the tailstock must be firmly clamped to the base of the lathe, and then this is a screw here on a shaft that puts pressure on your piece. Tighten the screw, that's the next step, and then lock the screw in place. This is the tool rest. There's different types of tool rests. Straight, there's some that are short, some that are longer, and some that are curved. This tool rest is the standard one that comes on this lathe. And the rule is that the tool rest must be adjusted while the machine is at a dead stop. Same with the tailstock. Any adjustments while the machine's at a dead stop. The next rule is that the tool rest here can't be more than a 1/4 inch away. It needs to be a 1/4 inch or less from your stock. So if you have a square piece, it's going to start getting round and then it'll get smaller and smaller. You're going to have to stop, readjust the tool rest, make sure it stays 1/4 inch or less from the wood. Pencil is a 1/4 inch to tell. You know what a pencil looks like. If it's more distance than the thickness of a pencil, you've got to stop and switch it. Okay. Make all adjustments while the machine's at a dead stop. When you're ready, this lathe, you plug it in. These are the portable lathes. Make sure that the cord isn't a tripping hazard. The stationary lathes, the power is onto the lathe all the time. Just make sure the machine's at a dead stop and the switch is in the off position. Some of these lathes, you can turn them down because they're variable speed. We first start up the lathe, we start it at a slow speed, and we stand to one side of the work, making sure that if anything's loose, we don't get hit by it. Some of the lathes, you can actually turn the speed control down to where it stops completely. But that is not what I consider a dead stop. I wanted to make sure the on and off switch is totally off. One revolution by hand. After we make adjustments to our tool rest, always make one revolution by hand. This is the hand wheel. So before we switch it on at the low speed, we make sure that it's not hitting anything. Now we can turn it up to our operating speed and make our cuts. This material is actually cellulose. It's a type of acrylic plexiglass type of plastic, and makes really nice pens. But the material, as it comes off, it can get in the way. So you make sure that you can see what you're doing. The next rule is that whenever we're going to sand or finish anything on the lathe, if I was done here, I need to remove the tail or the tool rest, move the apparatus out of the way, and now I can start finishing. If the tool rest is in the way, that's a pinch point. You can definitely hurt yourself. So we move everything out of the way so that when we start sanding, we can do that safely. And then when we put the finish on, we're going to be using finish and a rag, and we'll be burnishing some of the finishes on or brushing some finishes on. You make sure that it's at safe speed, everything's out of the way. Okay, this is a bigger project. We have a formula for figuring out the type of speed that you need for each project, the RPMs. On the side here of this tool is our revolutions per minute. Depending on where our belt is set, it gives us the revolutions per minute for that belt setting. Right now it's set all the way over to the right. That is at 250 revolutions per minute. Formula for the revolutions per minute of the rim speed here is you take the diameter, 11 inches, times 250, that's 2,750 RPM on the outside here. The center of the lathe is turning 250 RPM, but the outside a lot faster, over 10 times faster. So when we turn this on, again standing to one side, I'll turn it on. You can see the middle is turning pretty slow. The outside rim is turning 10 times faster. The safe operating speed, the maximum speed, just like on the side of the road, we have a speed limit for each road that you drive on. The maximum speed, rim speed, is 9,000. So we're well under that. It's a lot safer to be under than over. Very simple formula. If you have a 10-inch bowl and you have it turned here to 800, then you're going 8,000 RPM. If you have a 10-inch bowl and you're here at 1,300, now you're at 13,000 RPM. Just add a 0 for a 10-inch piece. If you can't figure it out in your head, use a calculator. You want to make sure you're never over 9,000 RPM. That's the speed limit.